Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be super exciting one. It's that time of the year. Fall is right around the corner and we're going to talk about our favorite fall palettes. I have a mix of both affordable as well as high-end. So if you are ready, let's begin. The first fall palette that I really wanted to recommend to you guys is the Sigma Warm Neutrals palette. Now, anything that has burgundy in it reminds me of fall, and this is totally a fall palette for me because it has some beautiful burgundies, some like rusty coppery tones with like a few bronzes here and there, and it has like deepening shades right around the corner, and Sigma's quality is top notch. You guys have heard me raving about Sigma eyeshadow palettes so many times on my channel, and this is no exception. I absolutely love it, and generally these palettes do come with like a dual ended brush also. I have mine with my constant using eye brushes, so that's why it's not available here. But the brush that is included in this, it's such a good quality that you can use it like in your regular routine, and I use it regularly. I love Sigma brushes, I love Sigma palettes, and that's why this is one of my favorite fall palettes to wear in the fall season. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is Anastasia's Modern Renaissance. Now I think burgundies came into place with Anastasia palettes, and this is no exception. This is actually a very new palette in my collection. Corley is the one who sent it out to me, and I had never bought it just because I have that Wet n Wild palette which has the same color story, but I'm very happy that this is in my collection. I cannot wait to test this out, but I have no doubts in Anastasia's formula. I mean, you will see a lot of Anastasia palettes in this fall palette video. So yeah, I'm very excited. This definitely reminds and screams fall to me, so I definitely wanted to include this in this video. Again, all these palettes do come with again a dual ended brush which is very nice. It has like a packer brush on one end as well as a buffing brush on the other end. So yeah, very nice quality brushes, very nice quality on the eyeshadows. It does come with like a mirror, nothing to complain. This is the first palette that I have like with that velvet finish. Rest all of the palettes are like glittery and shimmery in my collection from Anastasia. So yeah, I hope I don't like mess this up, but I am very excited to get this in my collection. Now the next palette that I have to talk about is from Colourpop, and this is Discontinue. This is in collaboration with Raw Beauty Christie, and it is at For a Sight palette. This again with these jewel tones, with the packaging, everything just reminds me so much of fall. It has those like rusty tones. This palette is heavy on a matte side, so if you are more of a matte lover and jewel tone person, you would absolutely love this. This palette only has two shimmers. One is more of that duochrome shade with like a taupey with like a green shift to it, and one is a beautiful yellow gold. But all these jewel tones is what makes like this palette absolutely amazing. I don't have anything in my collection like this palette, so for that reason this is definitely unique, and I know a lot of you guys do own this palette in your collection, and I absolutely love it. I cannot wait to play with this in the fall season. So for that reason, this is also one among my favorite fall palettes. Now let's talk about Alter Ego, and I absolutely love this palette in fall time, and this is their Goddess palette which dupes Natasha Denona's Gold palette. This is so beautiful. This just reminds me of those like brown orangey leaves falling on the ground with, you know, when you go out for a walk and you see all the leaves fallen on the ground with like making those crunch noises when you walk over it. This just reminds me of that, and I absolutely love the neutral tones, the goldens that are available here, the green tones that are available here. This is like fall leaves in a palette. I absolutely love the formula. I love the blendability. I love the punch. I love the color story. And for that reason, this is definitely one among like the best palettes that Alter Ego already has in our collection. So I absolutely love it. Now let's talk about a Too Faced palette, and that is the Pumpkin Spice palette. This was the last year's release from Too Faced for their fall time. They always do release their holiday palettes around the fall season, and I absolutely was in love with this color story, and that's why I got this. I feel this was the best color story that Too Faced had ever released, and I love the quality of this palette. I love the variety of looks that you can do with this palette, and I have done like 5 looks with this palette. I have done a few videos on my channel using this palette. I cannot wait to try this again. Actually, I do have these mattes on my crease and the outer and the inner corners. I have something else on the lid, But yes, I dip into this quite a bit. I absolutely love this palette. For fall season, for sure, it's a must have. I don't know whether you can get this right now or not. Most probably not, because they always do like a seasonal palette. Have you seen the latest palette that Too Faced is releasing for this holiday? I basically feel that the palette that they are coming out with this year in 2021 is a mix of pumpkin spice as well as the chocolate gold palette. Now, talking about the chocolate gold palette, it's another palette which is very, very good for like fall season, with like pops of colors here and there. But again, if you have these two palettes, I really don't think you need the new Too Faced palette which is coming in 2021. I absolutely love the quality, there's no doubt in that, but I feel it's getting very redundant. I really like their palettes, but I wanted to mention these palette, and I don't think I'm going to do a dupe video on that palette just because, I mean, it's just redundant shades now, so I didn't want to mention it again. Especially in the Too Faced company itself, they come out with palettes with the same color story again and again, and that's why I thought like pumpkin spice is a little different than the rest of the palettes, but now again they're going back to that story altogether. So yeah, I'm going to stay away from that palette for sure this time. But yeah, moving back to our fall palettes, another fall palette that I really wanted to shout out is KKW Beauty's Classic Blossom palette. Now again, if you like those burgundy tones but in like a muted format, you would absolutely love this. I have done like a dedicated video using this palette on my channel. I'll link it in the icons above if you haven't watched it already. Don't get fooled by these 6 shades in the corner. It appears very, very light in the pan, but it is amazingly deep and it shows on your eyelids very nicely, and I am in love with the quality, and the shimmers are very beautiful, very blendable. It's very smooth on the eyes, and for that reason this is definitely going to be one among a favorite fall palette for sure. Now let's talk about a few palette that has already been discontinued. I don't know whether you can find it or not. First one being BH Cosmetics Beautiful in Barcelona palette. This color story is so much fall to me, with like pops of blues here and there, but everything else is just fall to me. It has a mix of cool tones as well as warm tones in it. It has those rusty tones, it has those bronzes, it has those deep brown shades, and the quality is absolutely amazing. For that reason, this is definitely one among a must-have, and if you guys do have this palette, get it out this fall season. You will not be disappointed. I absolutely love this palette. Another discontinued palette is from Colourpop, and I absolutely love this for this fall season especially, and it is their Hocus Pocus collection. Who all does remember this? I mean, people were going nuts over this palette. And this is the palette that I really love to wear, especially in the fall season with those greens and the burgundy tones. I love the greens, especially in this palette. It has an unusual kind of kick up. As soon as you dip the brush, it has like so much of pickup in the pan, which I do not like. Otherwise, the shades are very punchy, they're very blendable, and a good fall palette for sure. Now let's talk about a bougie palette which is absolutely lovely for fall season, and it is my Pat McGrath Bronze Seduction palette. This again screams fall to me. Again with those red coppery tones, with this beautiful like green duochrome thing happening at the end with the Blitz Astral formula. It's just amazing. And again, you don't need to talk about Pat McGrath's shadows. They're just beautiful. They're wonderful. You cannot find those shades in any other palette, and they're very, very unique in my collection. Look at those shades. I mean, it's just lovely, and it performs like that on your eyes, and it just feels amazing when you even top it on top of other shadows. It just transforms the look altogether, and I'm very, very excited to play with this fall season. The last two palettes that I have to mention is from Anastasia. I'm pretty sure you guys can guess what palette it is. One is the Anastasia's Jackie Aina palette. Now this is again completely fall in a palette with like pops of purples and pinks. It's muted but it is jewel tones. It is wonderful. If you guys do not have it, I don't know why you're waiting for it, because this you will not be regretted. I started falling in love with purples because of this palette, and I cannot look back. I absolutely love this. This is like my must-have palette for fall season. I wait for playing with it in the fall time. I use this all the time, but especially in the fall season, I absolutely love it. I've done tons of fall looks using this palette. I've done dedicated 5 looks with one palette using this palette. Check it out if you haven't already, and buy this if you haven't already, because I think it's on the last leg of getting discontinued, so get it before it's gone. The last palette that I have to talk about is again from Anastasia, and it is their Ambreezy palette. Again, this palette is again fall in a palette for me, except this blue shade. Everything else just screams fall to me. I absolutely love it. I think it's only this blue and this pink that takes me aback, but it is lovely. I mean, it's just absolutely lovely that she's put those shades in the palette, just because it just helps you to create more of a variety of a look. But otherwise, this palette is beautiful, it's stunning, it's blendable, it's so impactful on the eyes, and these are like my top fall palettes that I have in my collection. I absolutely love each and every one of them. You would not go wrong with any of these palettes. Let me know what is your favorite palette in your collection and what is like your go-to palette in the comment section below. And if you did like this video, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 times a week, every single week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.